Good evening, Nick Inman from VolumeProfileTrader.com on Monday night, July 30th. And the S&P, really what I have to say is for having such a big two-day rally, the S&P hung in there today, and it was light volume, but we didn't go down, and that's pretty impressive. So I think that's something that you want to take note of. And any dip, you would be looking for buyers to take this thing back up. And after, I said this morning, after a 4-month or 5-month, sideways development, you'd be expecting some type of vertical move. And, from the looks of it right here, right now, after we broke above this big high volume area, I'd be expecting a push to the upside, at least to 1400, which isn't that far away, but you have to start somewhere. So that's what I would be looking at. The Nasdaq, one thing to point out about this is the fact that we do have a little triple top here, and that is why I recommended via Twitter that, if you're looking for something to hedge against your longs, the QQQ wasn't a bad idea. And the reason why is because it is, at a defined resistance point versus the S&P, which it has, made new highs relative to the past couple of swing highs. So you're seeing a little bit of underperformance from the Nasdaq. Not saying that it won't catch up or break out, but I'm just pointing that out. So just, laying that out there. Names, actually, let's go to oil. Oil, we're getting a lower high here, but I would suspect that what's more important are the lows that were made here. And, you'd be looking for these lows to hold, and you'd be looking at these highs. So this is kind of the range that I'm looking at right now in oil. Call it 87 to 92, 93. And I think that there is an upside bias to oil right here, right now. Silver saw fall through today, kind of broke out from this, well, I guess you could say, here, let me bring up the hourly chart. Okay, we have downtrend resistance. We broke out from that, finally seeing some volume come in. I'd be looking at this 28.20 level or so up to around 28.50. You see this 28.46, that's the point of control. That should be some resistance. If we get above that, I really think that, 31, 32 are back in the cards for silver. So just pointing that out, caught it a few days ago, took most profits. Now I just have some longer term positions on silver, no more shorter term. All right, gold banging up against a little bit of resistance here. I'll show you on an hourly chart. Continues to do so. This high volume area here, we're just trading in it, very light volume, wouldn't put too much into it. Just continue to trail your stop as far as this current trade, looking for another $15, $20 or so, maximum 50, and then you look to reassess this position. But I do think longer term, and I'm just going to zoom out a little bit, longer term we are seeing let me delete all these lines. Okay, we're seeing a triangle pattern and looking for a breakout, a resumption of the uptrend. So other than, patience, you just continue to watch your levels, and once you get a breakout, then 1750 to 1800 should be your next stop, and then maybe 1900 to new highs or so. But this tight consolidation here should result in an upside bias breakout. Just to point out a few more, something like copper, I'm going to zoom out a bit on this. You continue to see consolidation holding these levels. I believe it will continue to hold these levels. I doubt we'd see a breakdown on that. And that's why you're seeing stuff like Freeport McMoran. We have like a quadruple bottom here or something recently. We have some lower highs. Wouldn't be buying now, but just keep it on your radar because it may be something that if you get, around $33, which is a 3% pullback, you get a decent opportunity to get involved if you believe that Freeport has a chance to move higher. Similarly, well, not really similarly, but ConocoPhillips, what I'm looking at here is, let me zoom back out. All right, we do have some higher lows here, however you want to draw it, just relative strength. We have higher highs. Now, the only thing is we have a divergence with the S&P, if that's what you want to use, and ConocoPhillips kind of looks like oil here where we're getting a lower high, where the S&P just made new highs. So we're seeing underperformance. However, as long as we hold these swing lows from the 25th, I think that you're okay holding this. I continue to hold this. It's a longer term play. However, I do, hedge out this position when it's necessary. Right now, I don't think it is, but you want to see it at least remain stable, and I think that's important. Caterpillar, just like anything, if we're going to see a turnaround in the market, a name like Caterpillar is going to start catching a bounce. That was pretty much flat today. Look at Deere, continues to hold this level. Just continue to keep an eye on 74 to 76 or so, and when it gets down there, you can buy it with a stop a couple dollars lower. Just a suggestion. However, similarly to like ConocoPhillips, we did make a lower high here, actually on pretty good selling. Looks like that actually should have been my candidate for a short, but instead I took Halliburton, which is banging up against the 233 and the point of control for the year. What I'd be looking for on Halliburton is some type of reversion back down to 31, 32, really minimum, but like 31.50 or so, 31.60. The reason why is because, we have nice volume up here, and I'd like to see some type of pullback. Now, I realize I'm buying, right into major strength. However, looking at prior levels, Halliburton hasn't been here in a while. And look at this huge high volume area. We're at the top of it. What I was looking for was an entry against this selling bar here from Friday. We tested it today. Pretty light volume throughout the day, but took a cheap shot to the short side and actually took half off at break even right around 33.45 or so, and see what it's going to do. Still have half the position on. Looks like I should have done something like Deere, but it's all right. Maybe it still pans out. We'll just have to wait and see. Apple. Okay, Apple, great move off the lows. I guess it was a little predictable only because, Apple does do that, except for back on the the first month of the year, January, when it just gapped and kept going. But earnings, we tend to, whichever direction we go, we fill that gap over time. And one thing I want to point out, let me delete all of these lines so we can see it. Point of control for the last 90 days. And where does Apple stop? Right at those levels. And you can see it was the point of control for last month too. So that just shows you how accurate these levels are. Point of control for last month, let's see, let's call it 571. And the lows here, $1 lower. So that's pretty impressive. And you see a great bounce off those levels coming into this current month's high volume area here. I'd be looking for, see what the sellers do when it gets into this area. I suspect it will, and kind of go from there. But I want it over leverage yourself to the long side on this. I would just be looking at a bracket play down 575. You want to be a buyer, above 600. I think you want to be a seller. Whether you choose to short, that's kind of tough because it's Apple. But there is money to be made on the short side. It's usually short-lived though, so just keep that in mind. So, anyways, let's cover the euro. All right, the euro. What I really want to show you is the high volume area here, holding but barely, light volume after the second hour today, and you basically need to see euro regain 123 to have any conviction to the upside. But if we start rolling over, then that's probably a good case for the S&P to retrace some of its move. The dollar. Now this just shows you how interesting some of this stuff is. Let me delete these drawings. All right, you can clearly see the high volume area for this month. You definitely have one from 83.33 or so to 83.60. Without a doubt, you have one there. You can even go down to 83.27 or so to include this bar. But you also have one 82.87 or so to 83. Now, some of that's been developed just throughout today, but it's funny how price is holding there. Now, it looks like the dollar is going to continue lower, especially with this point of control here. We'll just have to wait and see, but if it does, you'd be looking down to this little high volume area here from this past month to test it. Looks like we have a couple gaps. Not that I really care too much about that. And then the major test is 81.40 down to 81.60. But really, I would be looking to scale down from any type of long dollar position, and you can use levels like right here to recognize where you're getting out from. Therefore, if we pop back above, you're aware that you scaled down from this specific area, and vice versa. If you want to add to your dollar, think the dollar's going higher, this isn't a bad spot. But I do think that you want to be looking away from the dollar. I think we're going to see a market rally here, a market continuation, and I said that. I want to say on 6/29, which was a Friday, saying that you're going to see continuation, and I was looking at the XLF as one of the potential leaders from that. I recommended selling some $7 puts on Bank of America today. Whether that I would recommend like a $7 by $6 put spread, if that's something that you want to do. And the only reason I say that is because you have your risk defined recently, $7, and you have the point of control for the month, the point of control for the last 90 days, all down here. So I just think that you have a good reference. Not necessarily saying that's the best bank. I don't know much about the fundamentals. Wells Fargo, something like this, it looks like eventually it's going to move higher. I don't know if it's right here right now, but it just looks that way. USB looks like new highs either today or yesterday. Goldman Sachs, breaking out here from this high volume area, point of control for the year. You have a lot of empty space right here to cover. So, it could run for $5-10 more, but we'll have to wait and see. And I guess the most important one is JP Morgan back at these highs. Got beat up a little bit today, but held its point of control for the year to the penny. Oh, not to the penny, but probably to the percent or so. Came down, good buying bar, well, average volume, but saw continuation, a nice trade to the upside, and you can see, just like anything, especially in a Friday, you'd want to sell into some of that strength, but you could see why they'd be selling here, especially after this type of move. So, wait for it to do what it's going to do. I'm not necessarily saying be long JP Morgan or any other bank. I'm just pointing it out. So, anyways, that's really it. Take care, have a good night, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.